Welcome back to the Behind the Well show. I'm your host, Roger Abel, back with Elias Randall. Elias, how are things going today?
Good day.
You know, I always like to open up the show just with a couple of recent articles that I've either seen or that caught my eye, and there's two out there that actually really did catch my eye. And the first one was on Think Advisor, and I know it's your favorite publication because they don't have any advertisement on it. That's a joke.
Yeah, you got to read 18 ads just to read the article.
But it had a discussion about, you know, what financial advisors really are. And the title is, are you a financial advisor or a therapist? And
both.
We're both.
Excuse me, both.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, even if you go back and look at some of the studies of the value of an advisor by Vanguard or by Russell Investments, the primary value outside of like the strategy and the planning. So strategy and planning, you know, there's some value for that. But a lot of the primary value that an advisor adds is all the emotional and all like the therapist type work that we do, because you just think about when markets get crazy, people want a sounding board. And that's what we become for people during times of chaos or even complicated times in their life where they're trying to work through situations. They're literally just looking for a sounding board.
They are. And I actually was asked the other day, do you ever, and this was with this is a younger family, they're new with us, and we're kind of wrapping up the final meeting, doing some paperwork, and the wife, she goes, do you ever feel like a marriage counselor when you're doing this job? I said, yeah, a lot of times, which for them, they're in a very fortunate situation. They both have nice jobs. They're good savers. They're looking at buying a new house. The husband said, we can't afford that kind of house, and that's not technically true, right? They can't afford it, and the wife wants to buy a new house. So now I'm in the middle, right? Like I'm between a rock and a hard place. I got to somehow there's a difference between not being able to afford and then choosing not to afford, right? But ultimately, they're doing all the right things for retirement. So I think it was helpful to see that they can upgrade a home and it's not going to derail their situation. But really they're armed with the information and true information, not just, well, we can't afford that just because I think that. Right now they know kind of what their budget should be and what they can do, and they can make a decision. But I was really in the middle of a conversation where I could tell they were disagreeing. And then I think they're also wondering, is he comfortable being in the middle of this disagreement? Which, truth be told, I'm not, but it's part of my job to get through those situations with them.
Yeah, we get stuck in those situations. That's okay. We're pretty good at navigating them and trying to be in the middle. The second article that I saw out there, this is on NBC News, and it was titled "The Great Wealth Transfer Hasn't Been as Great as Expected." And I think back to what we always tell people when they come into our office. We sit down to put together their plan, especially if they're in their 40s or 50s, and they mention to us, hey, we're likely going to get an inheritance. And our first thing that we typically tell people is, that's wonderful. Let's not account for it now in the financial plan. Let's make sure you're okay without this inheritance. And then when you get it, we can plug it in there and model it and figure out what the goals and concerns and, you know, what that plays in our overall picture. And after I read this article, I really started thinking we're doing the right thing. And the reason is this article, kids are expecting to get between around $320,000 in inheritance dollars, what they think they're going to get. Realistically, most parents are planning on, or I should say baby boomers, are planning on leaving less than $250,000.
Is that is that total or per beneficiary? That's probably total, right?
Probably total, I would guess. I'm not exactly. Yeah. It didn't really say whether it was per person. Just in general, I think the idea is whatever you think you're going to get, if you're doing a financial plan and accounting for an inheritance, likely, and from my experience, what I've seen is the reason most people do that is they don't really want to have to take responsibility for what they're doing. the other thing that we see is a lot of times it's a lot less than they think.
Yes.
It really is. And
I agree with that.
Especially with the aging population. I think it was 3 or 4 shows ago, we talked about how today we have 122,000 people that are age 100. By 2054, we're going to have 422,000 people that are over 100. And what that really tells me is that the long-term care, the assisted living, that game is going to suck up more money, because if people now are living, instead of till 85, life expectancy is 95, we're going from arguably a 20-year-ish retirement to a 30 and a 35. And that's going to put more stress on the money. And if you live longer, I don't know, the article that we got that statistic from doesn't tell us what the quality of life would be, because we don't know. But typically people that are 90 plus, those are the people who are starting to receive some type of assistance with their day-to-day living. So you could have a $2 million inheritance you think you're going to get because your parents are 75. And if they spend 10 years in the nursing home, it could be gone. So those are the reasons that we try to get people to not think about using inheritance in their overall planning for their retirement.
I also think there's probably a little bit of disconnect between people's perception of what their older relatives have and then what they actually have. And then also not understanding how costly life can get as you get older. And you just mentioned, and $2 million is a lot of money. But if you have to spend $80,000 to $100,000 every year just on your care
for one person,
right? For
one, it's 2 people.
Exactly. Well, $2 million's not necessarily enough where your principal balance or whatever you want, however you want to think of it, can remain intact with that type of spending. So I mention to people all the time with inheritance is we don't plan on speculation, and that is speculation. You may inherit money, you may not. But if you're prepared, and then I don't know anyone that would be in a bad situation if they were prepared for their own success and then got a little bit of help along the way. I mean, whether it's $50,000 or $500,000, it's just going to be in addition to the good things you've already done done for yourself.
Yeah, so if you're getting an inheritance, earmark it, but don't plan around it. Just plan for the worst, hope for the best. That's usually pretty prudent advice. I thought something pretty interesting came out, and it almost ties into the longevity statistic we just gave. But Allianz Life Insurance Company of North America did a study. It's their 2024 annual retirement study. They surveyed Americans 25 and older. 63% of the people said they feared running out of money more than death.
Really?
I
guess that is kind of scary. Yeah, if you run out of money, then you might be homeless. I mean, that is a pretty scary thought.
Would you rather be homeless or dead? I mean, I don't know.
Oh, me?
I'm posing it. Like, that's basically...
I'd rather be alive and have nothing than die.
But I feel
personally.
like running out of money, I understand nobody wants to run out of money, but these people are saying they're more concerned about that than dying. And maybe it's just because when you're 35, death isn't anywhere near your world right now. But as you get older, it becomes real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I might need to take this with a grain of salt. I mean... Well, people answering a survey and how they really feel, maybe not always.
This is where I went and dug in the numbers. You ready?
Yeah.
71% of Gen Xers said that. They're worried about running out of money versus death. 64% of millennials, but baby boomers were 50-50. So the people that are getting closer to death become less concerned about running out of money versus passing away. And in the study, the survey asked the respondents what they think they could do to make their money last longer. So I thought it'd be a good time let's just hit the top 5 things that people thought they could do. And we can kind of talk about whether we believe that has value or not. So let's start with number 5. And I'll let you kind of tell me what you think. But number 5 is invest in something that provides a balance of market protection and growth. 26% of the people said that.
Okay, and we're factoring in like age too here.
Yeah,
right?
so they don't tell us what the breakdown is, but it's Gen Xers, millennials, and baby boomers.
Yeah. So I think, okay, let's start with millennials. So invest in something that provides balance of protection and growth. I could probably make an argument for millennial. You should be investing for growth at this point in your life, because your goal at this point is accumulation. So really, like, protection strategies and a balanced approach, that might not be the most prudent thing for you to do. You should really be a growth-oriented investor if you want to have some sort of meaningful amount of money at some point. Now, the older you get, if you're Generation X and transitioning into retirement, yeah, there's probably some opportunities to have a more balanced portfolio. And if you're a baby boomer and already retired and older, I mean, at that point, you probably got your portfolio figured out, I would hope.
Well, I think this specifically leads to why we believe people need to be doing a full financial plan and quantifying what their risk capacity is, because you can model protection strategies in a financial plan. There's ways to do this, but the key line here is the survey asked respondents what they think. The goal of a financial plan is to provide a level of confidence so that you don't think you'll be okay, you don't hope you'll be okay. All those words that are associated with not knowing start to get eliminated. So I literally think that first one could be eliminated. So 26% of the people could feel better about this if they just went and did a financial plan that showed them how to quantify what their risk capacity is. And for those people who don't know what risk capacity is, it's literally how much risk you need to take to have the optimal outcome in retirement. So number 4, this tied, actually, these all tied together, was work longer, retire later, and put money into a product that provides lifetime income.
So just in general, I don't think there's any one product that's a silver bullet for anyone. I mean, you just touched on.
Well, let's preface. What's lifetime income?
That's going to be a pension or an annuity. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all an annuity is. So let's just turn that from lifetime income into these people really believed. And the reason I say that, I was taking a little bit of this with a grain of salt because Allianz is a life insurance company. So I don't know whether it was, hey, we want pension-like income and they made it lifetime income. Let's just call that pension. Yeah. I'm a pure pessimist whenever I read this stuff. They want some kind of a pension-like income in retirement. And I think I know the reason why. And we've talked on this show. It will be very interesting to see how the next 15, 20, and 25 years plays out for people who are retiring right now. Because this is the first generation retiring where their primary retirement account is not a pension. It's primarily a 401k or their personal savings that they've been doing. And, you can mess that up pretty easy because you can break into that pot of money. In fact, I know there's a propensity for people wanting pension-like income. And the reason is, do you remember back, this must have been like a month and a half ago, we talked about how IBM was halting their 401k matching program and going back to a defined benefit program, also known as a pension. Doesn't mean they're going to get rid of the 401k. They're not going to match it. They're going to match those dollars to a defined benefit program.
Yes, I do remember that.
So that shows that the appetite is out there. And there are insurance products that provide this, and there has been an appetite for those products in some cases. So I understand why people want it. They want a level of security. That provides security when you know what your paycheck is. And I think what the 35% of those people have actually figured out, and I think most people need to figure out, the reason you're saving money in a 401k isn't to have a big pile of money. It's to take that pile of money and generate income.
Right. And if you ask people, would you rather run out of your money or run out of income? I think if they really thought about it, people would say, well, I'd rather not run out of income. I'd rather have income forever. And when you have a pension or something like that, you're not going to run out of a paycheck.
It's why when we get to work, when we do a plan for somebody that has Social Security and 2 pensions, so they're school teachers or they worked at a hospital or a municipality or whatever, and they have a pension, we have to change the thought process from running out of money to running out of income, because we focus on having value in their investment accounts when they're 92 and 94 respectively, right? Well, if you had a husband and wife who have 2 pensions, each pension's 40 or 50,000, so you have 100,000 in pensions. You each have another 30,000 Social Security checks. That's 160,000 a year. They're not going to run out of income. What they could happen to them, though, is they could run out of lifestyle, because most pensions don't have cost of living adjustment. So for those individuals, the money they've saved literally becomes their hedge against future inflation. And it's less important that they still have money left. It's more important that they can get some level of income increases earlier on, increases earlier on, so they have this money for 20, 25, 30 years. So I think that does show there's an appetite for that. Number 2, they thought they could reduce spending and save more. I'll let you run with that one.
That's a good thought, right? If you want to save more, reduce spending and save more. But there are some restraints realistically with that. Families, it gets very hard at points in your life to reduce your spending. I'm working with a family right now that they're saving what they can. They would really like to save more, but for them, and they have a young family, so they have, baseball, soccer, activities. Well, and they made the comment to me, they feel like their saving is suffering a little bit at this point. They want to save more, but then everyone needs cash flow. You got to keep your life going, and you can't live off of your emergency fund because you're saving money in retirement accounts. Your emergency fund's for emergencies. So that is a good thought, but you also have to keep in mind any sort of restraints that are just it's not realistic to reduce every single expense in your life. Right, unless you're just going to live under a rock and not do anything, but that's not practical.
And, we disagree with that philosophy. Just make sure you're saving what you need to for retirement, which number 1 was actually increase retirement savings. That is the number 1 way to get more financial security in retirement. It's pretty simple. For those people who are struggling to get started with that, I've got a couple of tips. I talked to a family the other day about this. In fact, I was actually teaching PTR when I was talking about this. But let's say you have a 401k. And at this point, you're not participating at all. The first step to getting on the right track is getting your full company match. Okay? And make it automatic. Make it every single pay period, which it does in the 401k, and that's the beauty of doing payroll deduct. But the second part to help people get to the savings rate they're going to need to be is every year when you get that raise, because most jobs are going to give you a 2, 3, 4, 5% raise, whatever it is. If you get a raise and you take a third of that raise and you put it into your 401k plan, you will get to 15%. You'll get there. So think about it. You're making $100,000. They give you a 3% raise. You keep 2, you give 1 to the 401k. You still had a $2,000 raise and you gave your retirement income a raise. But when you do that, what actually happened? You gave your retirement savings account a lot bigger percentage raise than your income. If you're putting 3% into a 401k plan, then you go from 3 to 4. Did you increase your retirement savings by 25% from a percentage of your paycheck?
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way to think about it.
So that's a great way to get people started. And this wasn't mentioned in the survey, but we believe the number one way to get more financial confidence is to get a financial plan. There's no strategy of any of these that's going to work for one individual person or work for everybody. So a customized plan is really the way that people should be thinking about guiding their future decisions. And it's going to give you more financial confidence in the future. And we've said this before, it doesn't matter what age you are, you should have a plan. And if you want to learn how to get one, you can go to btwealthshow.com. We have made the barrier to entry to get a plan done very, very simple and cost effective for people. So if you're looking to get started, you can go to btwellshow.com. I teach classes with, and I know you're preparing for this, Elias, but we help out some of the local hospital foundations here in town with some learning. And I'm on the planned giving council with one of them. It's a little board that I have that specializes in planned giving and helps outreach in the community. But, we pulled up this article in idea. What are some smart ways that we can give money to our children? Like, how do we do it in a responsible manner? I know you're going to talk the end of this month with one of our groups about just charitable gifting in general, but what are the good and easy ways to give money to your kids in a responsible manner? Because I think people believe there's a lot of limitations on this, and for most people, you can really be gifting however much you'd like to gift to your kids if you do it in the correct fashion.
Yeah, for most folks you can. So some of the simple things that you can do, and it kind of depends on what you want the money to be for and how you would like them to use it. But college savings, like a 529 plan, is a good way to gift money to a child. There's some tax benefits for doing it. You can invest the money. They can use the account in the future tax-free for the qualified expenses. Now, the money should say the money in that account should be, you want that for future education expenses. That's what those accounts are designed for. So that's a good way for your family to get a tax benefit today and then a long-term benefit to help with education. A couple other easy things to do. If you, when your children start working, so they're of the age, they could get a job, they start working at the local grocery store, they start mowing lawn for someone, they're working on a farm, whatever it may be. If they can show some earned income on their tax return, you could do a Roth account for them.
Custodial Roth, yeah.
Custodial Roth, right? And that's not going to be for education expenses in the future. That's a much longer term investment there, because Roth money is really for beyond 59 and a half and when you're retired. But if you got a 14, 15, or 16-year-old started with a Roth and just contribute to it annually, even small amounts will be meaningful at that age over time. There's other custodial accounts you can do. They're typically referred to like a Gift to Minors Act or a Uniform Transfers to Minor Act. They basically, the parent gets to own the account. They can put money in it, and then once the child is age of majority, the child takes it over. It's not a retirement account. It's not a college account at that point. It would just be an investment account for that person. So that's some of the simpler things that families can do to gift money.
I like all those things. And I think when people think of that custodial Roth account, there's a lot of power in that. A lot of power in doing that, because the number one benefit of a Roth IRA is the ability to compound over time. I was watching something the other day that if a 14-year-old did one max Roth 401k or Roth contribution at age 14, $6,500. It was last year, so that number's higher, but $6,500 contribution is over $1 million at 65. Just S&P 500.
One contribution?
Yep, one time.
Really?
So just start thinking about stacking up some Roth contributions for your kids for 3, 4, and 5 years when they're 10, 11, 12, 13. It's almost like, unless they take it out, right? Because it's going to be their account. You've set them up for life with a lot less money than it would take you to save at age 50, 60, 70 or strip off to give to them. And that's where giving early can make huge impacts for people.
It can. And a strategy, and I actually learned this strategy from a client because they wanted to teach their kids the importance of saving and investing. And their kids started working, and they said, hey, mom and dad are going to give you a dollar match. I think they called it the mom and dad match, which is also teaching them about 401k match in the future. So if the child worked and made whatever and then put $1,000 into the Roth, then mom and dad would also put $1,000 in there. Now, to do that, you'd at least have to have $2,000 of earned income. But kind of the deal was, hey, you save half of what you make, and then we'll match every dollar. And that's a really great I thought that's a really great strategy because you're learning about the matching component, which is going to be important for your future benefits as an employee. Also learning the value of saving, and then you're getting an extra incentive for your work, right? And who does? Everyone likes to be incentivized for their work.
Well, it's similar to the client that has the grandpa savings account.
Yeah, remind me what that is.
I think he pays like 10% interest a month.
Grandpa does?
Yeah, Grandpa does.
I want
it's a client of ours. He does it for his grandkids, and the whole reason is, hey, look, if you save it, you get a benefit. And if you told the kid 10%, like, oh, I give you $10, I get $1. But if $10 is in there and you're getting $1 every month, you're going, man, this is pretty awesome. Like the money starts to add up. And you know what? I never really thought about it till I just talked about it. The reason he has to offer the 10% monthly interest rate to get them excited is because saving money isn't excited until you hit critical mass. Right? Like, oh, great, I waited 12 months to get $1. But when you get $1 every month, or you have $100 in there and you're getting a $10 bill, it's exciting. So he's overpaying interest to show his kids and grandkids, or I guess his grandkids now, the benefit of compounding without having to have, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in the account.
Very good idea.
Elias, I thought those were all really, really good ideas about how to, accelerate some saving. I think those are really valuable things that a lot of parents don't think about and kids don't think about. Hey, since 2024 is the year of personalized advice, one of the things we want to do on the podcast is take a common piece of financial advice or common financial myth and discuss it today. And I really like today's topic. Today's topic is net worth. Do you think net worth is a good gauge of where somebody's at?
So I have a couple thoughts on this. I don't think it's a great way to gauge any sort of retirement readiness or you have enough money saved. It is a good way to gauge the overall assets that you own and how much debt you have against that. So it gives you a snapshot of that. But being able to retire, here's the issue with only looking at net worth. If your home is 50% of your net worth or something, well, that's an asset that you may say, because you hear people say this, well, I'm going to downsize in retirement, I'm going to sell my house. The reality of that, no one sells their home to help them retire. It just doesn't happen.
Well, and to preface it, they probably will downsize the size of their house.
Correct,
but not the price.
Not the value.
There you go.
Yeah, they're not going to downsize the value. So the retirement savings, really, you should be looking at your investable net worth or liquid net worth, however you want to define that. But that's your money in the bank. That is assets like stocks and bonds that are liquid, right? Can be sold, and then 2 days later you have access to the cash. It's any net worth in a business or a home that can be liquidated and sold, but not just, okay, today's Tuesday, I'm going to have the money for this on Thursday. So homes and businesses they are a reflection of your overall assets, but probably not a good indicator of retirement readiness, in my opinion.
That's exactly what I only focus on liquid net worth. The only reason I put net worth in there is to have an accurate reflection, because that's what the bank wants to look at. What are your assets? Those are your assets. You're going to go to somebody else, but like you said, from a retirement standpoint, it doesn't matter. And I know everybody focuses on, well, my net worth is X. Well, that's great. If you're in California and you have a paid-for house, you could have a $2.5 million net worth and $2.2 million is your house. Not going to do anything for you unless you move to Iowa.
Yeah, you can sell your $2 million house and then go somewhere else.
Yeah. So with that said, this has been a really good show, Elias. If anybody listening to the show is looking to get started on a financial plan, you can click the link in the description. You can go to btwellshow.com. We'd be happy to go ahead and take a look at your situation. We also have just a really quick financial wellness quiz. If you're just trying to get a quick snapshot of where you are from a financial standpoint, it's like 6 or 8 questions. I think you can click it and get an idea where you're at. You can get that at btwellshow.com or in the description as well. If you want more content like this, please make sure to follow us on your social media channels. With that said, I want to thank you for being here for the show today, Elias, and we hope people enjoy listening in the future. Thank you.